Hi, welcome to Fast Intelligent Care, the podcast by Enable Lifecare, where we dive into smarter care solutions, cutting-edge products, and practical insights for healthcare professionals across Australia and New Zealand. We have Kate Silvy from Saltwater OT. In today's episode, we're going to talk about beds and mattresses and pressure care. So, Kate, I want to know if you have any stories about a bed setup or a pressure care mattress where you've seen that it really made a big difference in a client's life in terms of maybe preventing pressure care, making transfers easier. If you have any of those that you can share with us.
Yeah, look, I do a lot of beds, so it's hard to
that's good.
find one particular thing that points out. I suppose a couple of not to dos are the. I always try and encourage people to consider a 4-function bed. So even though that they only think that they need the head and feet to go up for comfort, I'll try to explain to them there's going to come a time in your care or future care that you're going to want to have those other adjustment features. A big one also is I find clients that have the mattress is too soft can have a huge impact on transfers. So I've certainly had plenty of clients that have purchased really soft mattresses, and if they've got a little bit of body weight behind them, they really struggle to move themselves in the bed. They sort of get bogged in the mattress, and often those mattresses are quite soft and slippery on the edge. So then they feel when they are sitting on the edge of the bed that they're going to slide out. And I've had, people that have had, falls out of bed for that reason. So the reinforced mattresses, so they've got the edging around the side, which most of them are doing now, has been a real game changer in terms of providing that stability on the edge of the bed. I'd love for an air alternating mattress to have the same. So often air alternating mattresses, they don't, and they're still quite unstable on the edge. But I do have quite a few clients that still transfer themselves out of those beds. There are a couple in the market, but they were a bit tricky to get to trial here in Coffs Harbour, and often they custom a foam,
Like a foam surround.
Yeah, foam surround, and so you can't trial that to see if it's going to make
if
it's actually going to help. And some really good transfer rails as well can make a huge difference in terms of maintaining independence with bed mobility. So, yeah, there's not one setup that I can say, oh, yes, that was the game changer, but there's just lots of little nicks and knacks that you pick up, as well as the other big one is the surround of the bed. So having a flush edge to your bed. So some of the beds will have a surround that builds the bed out. So it might mean that person's an extra inch from the mattress surface when they go to sit back in the bed, which means they're not getting their bottom as far back in the middle of the bed as possible. So if you've got a flush edge, then they're going to be as far back in the bed as possible when they start to swivel in, which for someone can make a huge difference as to where they're landing, especially with your movement disorders and things like that.
Yeah.
Really start to struggle with getting in and out of bed. So, yeah.
That's great. That's not even one I've ever even thought of. So that's...
Yeah. It's one, you don't think of it until you come across one. And it was only that I was looking at 2 beds. One had a surround and one that had a plastic edge. And I'm like, why is it so different getting in and out of this bed? And it was that difference, and especially if they've got a drop down rail as well, which then adds even further distance away from the mattress. So the further back you get, the better it is to be able to use your feet to push off and get back in the bed. So, yeah.
I know one of the bed accessories that I think is when you're a new OT that could be quite scary to even think of is bed rails, where you're not sure, should I do them? Are they going to actually help prevent falls? Is there going to be an entrapment risk? What is your opinion on bed rails?
I don't call them bed rails. I call them transfer rails.
Okay.
In my opinion, so the reason why I say that is it's all in the wording. So if a bed rail, what function does that provide that person. But if the rail that you're putting there is assisting in some way, hence why I call it a transfer rail, because it's usually used to aid transfers into bed or to roll or reposition, then it's serving a purpose. And I think as long as the person's aware of the risk, look, we can put this aid, this transfer rail here in the side of your bed, but it's going to serve more of a purpose than a risk, I think. Then it's certainly a valid intervention to use. Yeah. If you're putting a rail up and the purpose of putting the rail up is to stop someone climbing out of bed, that doesn't really sit, that's not really serving a purpose. Can we look at a different intervention? Because if there's a rail there, they're just going to climb over the rail anyway.
Yeah, really more of a risk.
Yeah, and a lot of people have high level disabilities. They can verbalize and say, hey, I want this rail up because it makes me feel secure and safe in my bed. And, we can put some cushions down the side to prevent entrapment. And they're making that informed decision themselves. I think they're quite capable of doing that. So you've got to respect their wishes in regards to that. But like anything, what's the purpose? Is it actually going to achieve its purpose? And if it is, then it's a valid intervention to use.
That's great advice. And another one that I was wanting to ask about is when you're doing pressure care mattresses, so when you're wanting to trial those, how do you go about that? Because I'm just thinking of me recently going to a mattress store. It's quite overwhelming. It was interesting to be on the other side of it. You climb from one to the other and you're like, oh, this feels okay, but I'm not very sure. And you're trying to think, what is am I going to be, if I'm going to be sleeping on this a whole night, is it still going to be comfortable? Is it going to be too soft, too firm? What is your go-to in terms of how you approach things like mattress trials? Do you just go into the store, have the client just lie on it for a while? Do you look at extended trials or hiring when it comes to something like pressure care mattresses?
Yeah, all of the above. And also too, I do the same thing with recliner chairs. So I make friends with the local suppliers, and it does come down to a particular person, like their diagnosis, as well as just the type of person that they are. Like if you know that they're going to be very particular about their comfort, they might have a lot of issues with pain, all those sorts of things and sensitivities that are really adverse to change. There's a lot of people out there that really struggle to change really simple things that, everyone would be quite happy to get a new mattress, but they're just familiar with that mattress and they don't want to change it. So I do an in-store trial and obviously try and nail down some options. But also, look at doing a weekend trial. And I often explain to people, look, I know it's going to be inconvenient, but would it be okay if I organised for this mattress or this chair to come over for the weekend, and that you can try it? Because sitting in it for 10 minutes here at the store is not going to give you a true picture of how that's going to improve your experience over a full night. Sleep, because a lot of people think that the reason why they're not sleeping well or the reason why they're getting pain is because their mattress isn't right. And most of the time, a mattress isn't going to change someone's pain experience. So it's just about educating around to why that pain might be. You might be experiencing pain or discomfort when you're sleeping, and getting at the source of that. Not giving them the expectation by having a new mattress, they're going to all of a sudden be sleeping through the night pain-free, having realistic expectations.
Yeah, having realistic expectations. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's comes through with all assisted takers understanding that it can make a big difference, but it's also not magic. It does have its limitations, and there's still other things that you can, or other things that you still need to implement. So like an example of pressure care is you can have a great mattress, but if you're using your bed incorrectly, you can still cause damage. You can still get that shearing. You can still not use the bed maybe to its best ability to help you to do transfers easier, so you're not as mobile, so you're still getting that pressure care risk.
Yeah, and one of the big ones I find with your mattresses too is looking at how someone uses their bed. So there's plenty of people there that, despite your recommendations to sleep with elevation no more than 30 degrees at the head, they're sleeping nearly bolt upright.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
yeah, for reasons that's the only position that they can tolerate. I often find this with these are the people that like to sleep in their recliner chairs and things like that. So certain mattresses aren't going to work when you're sleeping bolt upright all the time. Will compress over time, and you've got to look at your air alternating options that have the technology in them that will be able to boost the air under the bottom.
Yeah.
Remember the fancy terminology there, but yeah, looking at how I also
Parlor beast or something?
yeah, that's yeah. How is it that how show me your favorite sleeping position? How are you sleeping at night? Let's put the bed in that so that we can have a think about how that is when we're using the mattress. So yeah, that's an important one.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you're going out to like trial mattresses, you're probably like all just lying. Everyone's just lying on their back, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are side sleepers or something. They'll sleep on their tummy as well. So yeah, that's it's a good point. When you mentioned alternating air, I actually had a question pop up in my mind on alternating air and how it's a really great pressure care option, but how it does have a bit of I guess a few drawbacks in terms of sound. Could be that the person finds maybe the mattress too cold, or some just don't like the feelings of the alternations. What has been your experience with pressure care mattresses when it's like a full alternating air system?
Yeah, again, it just comes down to addressing those expectations at the start. Like, I think you need this air alternating mattress, but just to let you know, they're not the solution to all your problems because they do have some points. Like some people struggle with the sound. Some people report that it feels cold, those sorts of things. And trialing it over, the weekend or whatever it is that you manage to organise so that they can have that experience and then get their feedback. Okay, how did you go? Some people are like, oh yeah, it was fine. It was the best night's sleep I ever had.
Yeah.
Other people like, no, I was freezing the whole night. Like I can't do that. Or the noise kept me up all night, or I felt seasick after being on the alternations.
Yeah.
And that, what other alternatives you've got? Like there's so many hybrids, sort of half air, half air, half foam out there that aren't as bad. You can look at static air and foam mattresses. All those other things that can that address the drawbacks. The common one is the coldness of the mattress. So just even explain to them the environmental air where the mattress is drawn. So whatever the temperature of the room is going to be the temperature of that mattress. Can you warm the room up? And then they're like, no, I don't want to have the heater on all night. It costs too much. I find that's the other big one. A lot of the oldies hate the air because they think it's drawing power.
Oh yes,
A lot. Just discussing all the aspects of that AT with that person before you're putting it in place so that they're signing up for and they're still keen for it. Which realistically, you can talk about things until you're blue in the face, but unless they actually have a full night's sleep or a weekend on it, and it comes down to length of trial is so important.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just adjustment. It's just getting used to, there's like a little bit of a vibration that I'm going to be hearing, or I find even if there's a possibility with a pump to extend the cycle lengths, I find that works well as well, where you're doing a bit of a longer cycle for the changeover, so it's not as disruptive for their sleep, and then progressively taking it to like a shorter cycle length as they get used to it. So there's definitely, I find the good thing about mattresses is they've definitely come a far way. And they've really taken, especially alternating air ones, taking into account all those issues that people experience, trying to reduce the sound, reduce the vibrations, drawing
number of cells too for your motion. So obviously the more cells, they're more expensive, but then there's the less less sense of movement when you're sleeping.
You're talking about like the 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 cells instead of the 1 in 2. Yes, yeah. So you have, I guess, more cells supporting the body, and only here and there, like every 4th or every 3rd one.
Alternate. Whereas like a 1 in 2, you're getting a much more experience.
That's a good point. And when you're looking at things that go on top of mattresses, and when we're also thinking of when we talked about seating and positioning, we talked about layering. Do you find that happens with mattresses as well, that you're getting a lot of layering on top of it?
Yeah, they often, especially if it starts wearing out and the springs are poking through, it's a lot cheaper to get an overlay than to replace the mattress. A lot of people that are really attached to their furniture will often want to look at an overlay option. And again, it's a valid thing to consider. It's not something I often find works terribly well, but there's certainly been a sprinkling of times when it's been an appropriate intervention. And the biggest thing to check is, again, it's not interfering with transfers, because I find that that's what happens. Like the more layers you put on something, the more you sink into it, the more movement there is against you when you're trying to move. And it just makes getting in and out of that bed quite difficult. And having a good supportive mattress can certainly aid transfers, especially if you've got someone with a bit more body weight, like the lighter people tend to cope better on an overlay than someone that's quite heavy, because again, they're just that extra body weight sinking into something. They've got to move out of that to be able to do it. But it's a valid thing to consider, but it's not always a solution. Not a blanket solution for everyone. Oh, you're uncomfortable, let's get you an overlay.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it's not going to be good for everyone, but case by case basis, you can assess it if it would make someone more. Because if someone's more comfortable, they're going to sleep better. It's going to make their bed mobility better. So, and comfort is a big part of it.
And some of that can be placebo. Like, the science tells us that it just makes no difference to posture or their pain, but just purely having that can make you feel more comfortable or more secure, or for whatever reason. And if it works, it works. Hey, give it a go. I often say that to people, like, logically, this doesn't make sense to me, but it's working for you. So let's, and that's why trials is so important, because you wouldn't find that out unless you gave it a go.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And thank you, Kate. I appreciate your time, and thank you for being us through this 4-part series where we did seating and positioning, manual handling, and pressure care with mattresses and beds. And all the best for you. I hope you'll have a lovely day. And I will hopefully talk to you again soon. I'll see you soon again in Coffs Harbour.
Thanks, Chanel. Have a lovely day. Thanks, everyone.
That's it for this episode of Fast Intelligent Care. If you're tired of spending hours on clinical reports, you're not alone, and we hear it all the time. And that's why we created the Enable Lifecare app that makes your AT assessments, product selection, and report writing so much quicker, easier, and more accurate. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter for updates for our upcoming free CPD events, such as our webinars, product updates, resources, and more ways to enable smarter care. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Fast Intelligent Care.